Hello guys, welcome to Comicology, a place where we love comics more than Tony Stark loves a veg cheeseburger. Today, we're gonna break down Iron Man Extremis for you. It's a story about how Tony Stark is not just a man with a suit. Make sure to like the video if you like our content, tell us which comic you would like to hear about next in the comments, and hit that subscribe button. All the images and text are held by respective companies. Today I'm going to share with you a story of probably the most famous Marvel superhero, Iron Man. It's called Iron Man Extremis. This is said to be one of the best Iron Man stories ever written, and trust me, I felt that while reading it. One special thing about the story is that Warren Ellis, the writer of this comic, told in one of his interviews that he didn't really read any of the Iron Man comics before writing this down. I mean, he of course read his origin story and some basic things about Tony Stark, but none of his other comics or stories. So this story is really for the new generation of readers by a guy who himself didn't care about the history of this character. This story basically sets the stage for everything about Tony Stark going into Civil War and post-Civil War phase. So the story begins with this guy named Malin who is ingesting this Extremis formula and it's being done through a direct shot into his bloodstream. After the ingesting is done, we see him go through some violent physical changes. There is blood vomiting and changes in physical appearances of the skin and so on. Now we go through a sudden transition in the story where we see a guy named Dr. Eldrick Killian. Now this is kind of strange because people who have seen Iron Man 3 would know that Dr. Killian had a very significant role in the movie, whereas if we see here, he's just basically typing out a confession about how Extremis has been released and then he shoots himself, and that is the end of his role in the story. Then we introduced here to the character of Maya Hansen. Now she has a pretty important role in the story. She is one of the main characters alongside Tony Stark, but by the confession of Dr. Killian, we get to know that he somehow released the Extremis formula out in the general public, which resulted in this guy Malin getting the formula and doing what he does in the story ahead. Now moving ahead, we see Tony Stark having a meeting with this guy called John Pellinger. Now John is really just a kind of a reporter, but he is also involved in yellow journalism, which means he is involved in basically uncovering CD information and bringing that CD information to light, and probably that is why he is working with Tony Stark. What's told here is that Stark Industries initially gained success by being weapons manufacturer and getting contracts for US military. Now, the point that John Pellinger tries to make here is that Stark Industries have been making weapons from the very beginning. So inherently, Tony Stark is also a weapon manufacturer, and thus because Iron Man's suit was presumably made by Stark Industries, it is also a weapon. The counter argument that Tony presents here is that no, that's not the case. The Stark Industries has made weapons in the past, but the goal now is to turn over a new leaf and to make a new legacy for Stark Industries, and in turn find a way to make the world a better place. If you have read some old-time comics of Iron Man, you would know that the origin of Iron Man involved Vietnam War in almost all of them. But Tony Stark was basically a person who was made to be involved in military-industrial region. In the story, while showing off some of his weapons, one of the mines gets detonated and blast off, resulting in Tony Stark receiving a shrapnel in his chest. This is quite different from the origin which we saw in the movie, but that's the best thing about comics. They are not directly influenced by the movies, they have an autonomy of their own. Now, as the interview starts to wrap up, John Pellinger comes to a conclusion that Tony Stark is a weapon manufacturer because that's what he does and that's what he will always be. Now, Tony poses a question to John that he's been doing all this for a long time, but what has he actually changed? He says that you are just a person who says that hey, there's a problem over here and then just does nothing about it. And if you think that you have actually done something, then what is it? How have you made this world a better place? You are just a person who raises awareness, but raising awareness only works when people don't know anything, otherwise you are just a lazy activist. Switching to Malin, we are shown that he is going through this cocoon stage, this larval stage that people who ingest Extremis usually goes through. And another transition takes us to Tony Stark donning his Iron Man suit and leaving for a flight. Now Iron Man fans and his comic readers would know that he usually does this, like just dons his suit and takes off to clear his own mind. But what happens here is that his mind begins to transfer back and remember the time when he first met Maya Hansen. They shared drinks, had some romantic chit chat and so on. Now when Maya calls Tony, she intends to get his immediate attention and reminds him of the night when they promised that they will always take each other's calls. And Tony too responds quickly to her call and takes off to meet her. There she tells him a bit about this something called extremist technology, but she is being a bit secretive too. She just admits that their boss Killian killed himself and that they are still trying to figure out why that happened and what's really going on. Tony, being Tony, jacks off Killian's hard drive and sends it to one of his guys to analyze it. Now we get transitioned to a scene where they both go to meet this guy named Sal. Now I don't know why, maybe it's just me, but this guy reminds me of Grandpa Max from Ben 10. Maybe it's his shirt or his hair, I don't know, but he does. But the fact remains there that this guy Sal is a new introduction to the Iron Man landscape. We are not told much about this guy, but it seems like he used to be a sort of a mentor for both of them. He basically saw them as people who would herald the future, who would create better things for a better future. But what happens here is that Sal starts pointing out the failures of Tony Stark. He says that, hey, your biggest mistake is that 1. You are swept up on yourself, and 2. You never think outside the box. Well, Sal here isn't really familiar with the idea of Tony Stark actually being Iron Man. Then he comes to Maya Hansen and says that she will always play a second fiddle to some person because she just doesn't have ambition of being the number one person. While all this was happening, we see Malin entering a FBI field office. Here we get a demonstration of what kind of abilities can this extremist technology give to a person. It gives him super strength, it gives him super speed, he literally overpowers all these guys at FBI. Their guns don't work, none of it matters, he just takes down every single one of them. And it was just a matter of seconds when he even starts breathing fire out, quite similar to what you would have seen in Iron Man 3. He puts up whole building on fire, disables elevators and just kills everyone inside. This leads to Tony and Maya to take off immediately. Now this is where Tony asks Maya, see, I really need to know what I'm up against. I need to know about this extremist thing. What's cool about this is this all-running theme in Marvel where every group, every organization has once tried to replicate the super soldier serum which was used on Steve Rogers aka Captain America and just hasn't been successful. The scene here is that Future Farm tried to make their own super soldier serum, this extremist stuff. But the problem is that it was supposed to be contained, to be maintained, and only some people were allowed to use it. But this guy Malin somehow got his hands on it and inoculated himself with it, and it is now making him go crazy. This extremist thing basically works on human physiology. It repairs the damaged organs, repairs the damaged tissues. We are not given any indications that it can also regrow some limbs, but what is implied here is that it basically takes over the body's genetic code and begins to run it like a computer program and regrowing and repairing all the broken aspects. So what Stark does here is go on to become a hero that he is. He dons his Iron Man suit and takes off to fight this guy. He gets totally wrecked. I mean, he just couldn't keep up with all his super strength and super speed thing. Any attack he does is just not working. His repulsors are not working, his secondary assault systems are not working, and he just gets totally crushed. So as a result, Malin completely overcomes Iron Man and just bails out to complete his ultimate goal, which we will find out shortly. But Tony here, being battered badly, is bleeding to death in his own Iron Man suit. This has always been one of the dangers of this suit. His arms and legs are broken, he is just locked inside his own suit. He contacts Maya Hansen and goes to her himself, where we see that he is bleeding internally, and it is bad, it's really bad. What else we get to know here is that the ultimate goal of Malin is basically to head to Washington DC and attack the federal government. Now what this scene allows is for Tony Stark to discuss a little bit about his suit and his intentions. Well, this story basically treats everything before as it has never really happened or never existed. So what we get to know here is that despite the years of improvements in technology used, the suit is still funky. It's large, it's not what it's supposed to be like, and that this suit reacts to his physical movements and not to what he actually wants to do. So what he suggests here is that he himself will go through this extremist process and make the suit a part of himself. And that's what he does. Then once he ingests this extremist technology in himself, he starts to show the abilities that it gives to a person. Along the time, Tony has given himself some pores in his body, these little openings, and now the suit emerges from these pores. Earlier the suit would do what he does with his arms and legs, but now it would respond to his mind, to his thoughts. It's almost like he could now move at the speed of his thoughts, which is pretty awesome. And it's like almost moving infinitely faster than moving at any kind of measure of super speed. The fact here remains that the suit will now work as Tony Stark wishes it to. It makes life a lot easier for him, as earlier he had to carry a crate with him, open it up and put up the armor himself, and that too like each part individually, like for his legs, his arms, then his chest, then his helmet. In short, he had to do a lot of labor. But now with Extremis, he can just recall his suit and put it on wherever he is. The suit is now like it's there, but it's not really there as well. I mean, it just feels like it's his own body that has become so durable, like the suit is just an extension of his own mind. All this is now combined with the fact that he's almost like a living computer program. So he can get access to like any satellite, he can tap into any computer network, like he can do anything he wants virtually. Now with all this power, he goes on to finish what he started. He takes off to Washington DC and stops Melon there. With all these abilities, the suit and his own mind, Melon didn't even stand a chance against him. He's outwitted in every way possible. So this ultimately ends with the defeat of Melon. But Melon was a guy who wasn't just going around killing for fun. He had a motivation behind all this, so he wouldn't give up very easily. He wanted to achieve his goal. He was doing all this because his parents were killed by the ATC department, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco and Firearms. Now of course they were killed because they were dealing in weapons and stuff, but it gives the story a state versus individual kind of look. So Melon was just not stepping back, and so Stark was left with no other option than to kill him. So he just blows him off with the repulsor in his chest. While all this was happening and Tony having powers to move as fast as his mind and to tap into any satellite, Maya Hansen seems to drop off a critical information, through which we get to know that she was involved in all of this. When Tony Stark and Maya went to go access the Extremis, Maya told him that it needs 2 keys to open the vault. One was for Dr. Killian and the other was her own. This was when Tony Stark realized that the release of the Extremis virus was not done just by the Dr. Killian, but by Maya too. But the explanation that she offers is that their job was to create and advance with something new in the field of biotechnology. But when they got to know that US government was intending on using this Extremis technology for their own purpose, she told them that she won't allow them to weaponize it, and the government cut off all the funds. So the only way left for Maya and Killian to keep running Future Farm was to sell this Extremis formula to the highest bidder, which resulted in Melon getting his hands on it, and everything happening that happened in the story ahead. And that is the end of the story. Thank you for watching this. Do hit the like button if you liked the video. Tell us in the comments if you have any suggestions for upcoming videos and if Sal reminded you too of Random X. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel to keep up with the upcoming videos. And if you want to read this comic on your own, you can find it on our official website for free. Do follow us on Instagram and Twitter. Links are in the bio. Until then, peace.